YouTube thing. I don't know. People say it's popular. I don't know. Do you? I don't go on there much. Is it like a modern thing? I don't know. So let's hear. I got my latest book, Caught in the Web, here, and I figure I'll do a little reading. We can find out about the zombies. So, and I will try not to get my glasses caught in the glare as we do so. Yeah, I'm reading off of a newfangled Kindle. So, this is Caught in the Web. When the door had exploded out, Westdale had been partially behind the corporal. He had seen the corporal getting ready, training his rifle on the door. He didn't know why the man had suddenly tensed and was now cautiously edging towards the door. Westdale didn't hear or see anything, but wasn't surprised. He had lost part of his hearing long ago, with no great story behind it, other than good old heavy metal and the high school saying, if it's too loud, you're too old. He hadn't heard the pounding on the door, but thankfully, he was good at reading visual cues. Seeing that the corporal had moved into action, Westdale started to do the same and brought up his rifle. The door exploded outward, wood shards shooting through the darkened hallway. The corporal took some of the shards in the suit, but Westdale didn't have time to notice. He continued to bring his rifle up and aimed on the center of the doorway. Then he paused. What the fuck? He let slip out. The thing had once been a black man, but the man's skin had lost so much of its color it seemed that ash had formed over the top of it. There were long gashes in its outstretched arms, and its eyes had lost all of their color and had gone white. It had cuts along its cheeks, around its neck. Its lips were raw and peeled back, moisture having been sucked dry from them. In fact, the whole body looked like it had all the moisture sucked out of it. Westdale shook himself out of his trance, not realizing he had just been watching as the thing had fallen forward into his corporal, who was now wrestling with it. His rifle dropped to his feet, and the pistol that had been holstered to his hip was now out, and he was firing into the chest of the man. The sound of the gun was excruciatingly loud in the enclosed hallway, but Westdale watched as his platoon leader emptied his chamber, firing into the chest of the man. However, he kept fighting, like the bullets were having no effect on him. It kept pulling at his leader's suit, trying to get in. If Westdale didn't do something soon, it was going to get in. Westdale sidestepped, pulled up his M16, looked down the long barrel, sighted on the thing's head, and when he was sure he wouldn't hit his platoon leader, softly squeezed the trigger. The head rocked back, and he watched as it fell away from the corporal. As soon as it let go of its grip on the man, Thompson stumbled back. He looked over his shoulder at Westdale and gave him a nod, then turned back to look back at the thing. Westdale had been able to see the corporal's face through the faceplate and saw the shock that he himself had been fighting against. "What the fuck is that?" Westdale asked. "Some sick-ass person." "Yeah, right." "Christian, how are you coming?" the corporal said over his radio. "I heard gunfire. I'm on my way." "Negative. Check the rooms. In depth. We should have this one under control." The corporal looked back at Westdale. "Good shot, Corporal," came the clipped female response. Westdale wished the doctor would figure out how to use the damn radio. There was a command circuit where she could talk to the corporal directly without the rest of them listening in. He felt like he was sometimes listening in to his parents fighting. "Yes, doctor?" "Get that body to us. We want to do an autopsy." "Understood." The corporal stepped forward and reached for his rifle. "Westdale, help me get this body over there. Christian, as we pull out, I want you to meet up with the perimeter team. Get with Brady, and you two triple-check everything in here with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure to get everything on video so the doctors can see." The corporal was cut off as the corpse he had been reaching for grabbed him first, grasping around his wrist. The corporal had been bending over to pick the thing up, and it was probably just luck that he had already braced himself for the weight. Otherwise, Westdale felt sure he would have watched his corporal fall straight forward into what was left of the thing's mouth. Instead, he watched as his NCO was able to rip himself away from the thing and pull himself back. But as soon as the thing had lost its grip, Thompson had fallen back onto his ass. Neither the thing nor Thompson took much time to think about what they were doing. Thompson was backpedaling quickly, pulling himself back to where Westdale was positioned. The thing fell into a crawling position and started after the corporal. Westdale couldn't believe that even with a large gaping hole in the center of its head, the thing was still coming after them. He flipped the switch with his thumb, switching the single-shot rifle into a 3-shot burst automatic. He wasn't trying for accuracy anymore, and with the thing so close it was going to be hard to miss. He pulled hard on the trigger, the sound exploding through the hallway. Thompson had made it back to him, and Westdale could see that the corporal had reloaded his pistol and was shooting. Making sure he wasn't blocking his corporal's line of fire, Westdale positioned himself partially in front of the man, making sure to give cover enough for him to get back to his feet. Sure, the thing wasn't shooting back at them, but training and habits were just too ingrained, and so it was hard for him not to do it. His magazine emptied, and the bolt locked back, waiting for the new magazine to be slid home. He popped out the empty cartridge, grabbed another one, and within less than a second he had it cocked and loaded. His eyes had never left his target. How the hell could it still be coming after them? Most of his hits had been in the head and in the upper body. The top of the head was gone. There were large chunks taken out of the man's face. Skin was hanging and was ready to just fall off, and much of the exposed muscle had become pulp. However, the thing still continued. The bullets had gone straight through in some areas. Westdale could see behind the thing through the hole in the head, but it still came. With the new magazine in place, he aimed straight for the eyes. The right one exploded in a small white cloud of gore that oozed, creating a river down the little part of his cheek that was left. He shot at the other eye, exploding it inward. He watched as more blood, brain, tissue, matter splattered out from what was left of the back of the skull. The thing rocked back from the impact, then fell to the side. "What the hell is going on over there?" Christian's voice came over the radio. His voice shook, and Westdale knew how he felt. His stomach was trying to twist its way down, and he was sure it was about to come out of his ass if he didn't get some form of control over it. That would be great. His first real combat, and he'd shit himself. He never would hear the end of it. "This thing won't quit. Get over here," Thompson barked into the radio. Westdale looked back at the corporal. He was pulling himself up, but it looked like he hurt himself on the way down. He looked to be in a lot of pain. "It's not dead," came the female scientist's voice. "No, it keeps coming," Thompson said. He was finally standing up and was now looking past Westdale, watching the thing. "On my way, got tripped up on a desk I didn't see." "Just move!" Westdale turned back to see that the thing wasn't moving as fast, but it still was coming towards them. "Just what the hell is this thing?" Westdale said under his breath. He hadn't meant to ask the question out loud, but it just slipped out. "I sure as hell don't know. Just keep shooting it." "We need it for an autopsy." Westdale thought that if she wanted the damn thing so badly, why didn't she just come out there and get it? "We'll try," said the corporal through gritted teeth. Westdale heard him reload his weapon. The thing was a couple feet away now. Westdale dropped the empty magazine from his cartridge and propped in a fresh one, bringing his rifle back up to bear on the thing. Both of the men stood there, waiting. He took a step backwards so that he was in line with the corporal, who was leaning against the wall and lifting his foot, experimentally rotating it. He couldn't see the man's face, but it didn't take a psychic to know that he was in pain. "Maybe if we shoot for the legs," Westdale suggested. "Yeah, take away the legs and it can't keep coming. We need to take it down. They want to study it." From his tone of voice, it was clear he wasn't happy with the order. The thing was near them, crawling, reaching out. Westdale opened fire as its hand reached out towards his suit. He blasted into the hand, pieces of flesh splattering back onto him. Fingers separated, the meat of the palm disintegrated, and the bone beneath was exposed. Westdale continued to fire. The bones just chipped away until finally there was barely anything left on the hand and lower arm. The thing took another knee forward and reached out its other hand. Westdale's rifle clicked on empty. He took a quick step backward, trying to get out of its reach, but it was still coming for him. He was too close to it. He couldn't get away in time. "Come on, you bitch," he said through gritted teeth. He swung the rifle around, moving it swiftly above his head and rotating it so the stock of the rifle was towards the thing. Then he brought it down, turning the weapon into the club. The rifle slammed into what was left of the jaw. He heard a crunching sound and quickly took a small step forward to prevent himself from toppling forward. He pulled his rifle back and prepared to bring it down again. He could see that the little bit left of the bottom portion of its face was smashed in, the bone crushed into powder. A black ooze, which Westdale thought must have been blood at one time, fell. Teeth had been dislodged from its mouth, and the bottom jaw just seemed to melt to the floor. Westdale felt his stomach clench in disgust, and he could feel his muscles already tightening, getting ready to gag. The thing reeled back from the blow, but then started moving forward again. He had the rifle up, but it was too close, and as he wrapped its arms around him, he couldn't bring it down. He was shaking back and forth, wriggling as though doing some insane dance to get away from the thing. What was left of its mouth was trying to open and close, and that disgusting mass of gore that used to be its head was trying to get to him. Finally, he had to admit it. It was a zombie. He had been refusing to call it that because to admit it seemed to lay some claim that fiction had somehow taken a nightmarish turn and ended up in his reality. But here he was. He knew the damn thing was a motherfucking, shit-eating, flesh-ripping zombie. It was still trying to eat him. But why? Why the fuck did the thing want to eat him? It was dead. What the hell was it going to do once it fed on him? Where was it going to go? It didn't have a digestive system anymore. What the hell was it going to do with his flesh? What was left of its right hand pulled at him, the stump of his left arm still reaching out, as though there were still fingers attached. It wrapped him up and was trying to pull him forward. He felt like he was a fly caught in a web because the thing seemed to want to smother him, to wrap him up. He was finally able to get his rifle in between him and the zombie and started to use it as a wedge against its face. He worked at prying it off and pushing it away, but it kept pushing forward. For a dead thing, Westdale was surprised at how strong it was. He was not that small of a guy, and he worked out. But this thing kept pushing into him with enough force, it was hard for him to not only fight the thing off, but keep from falling back. Westdale heard a shot from his corporal, but had no idea what he was firing at. He didn't see the thing react to the shot, and he hoped like hell there wasn't another one coming towards them. "Shit!" he heard Christian cry out. Westdale could see movement out of the corner of his eyes, and he saw another pair of arms wrap around the zombie and start to pull him back. He looked up as he pushed against its chest with the butt of his rifle and saw the grimace on the smaller man's face. Christian was one of those small, scrappy guys who didn't look like much when you saw him, but if you were going to fight him, you'd find out just how tough he really was. Westdale had seen him taking down a bear of a man in a little scrap they had on leave one time, and he had been amazed that the other man was the one on the ground when it was all said and done. Christian was tough. He was a fighter, and he was a lot stronger than he looked. Westdale looked up into the face mask of the smaller man and saw him tense his body, and Westdale could see the release as the thing started to pull away. At first, it was taking him with it, but Westdale was able to get some leverage on it with his rifle and push the thing back. Christian stepped back, taking quick steps to keep from losing his balance. Westdale fell back onto the counter to the nursing station. It must have been the corner that caught him because he felt the edge stab into him like a dagger, and he could feel the icy touch of the pain shooting down his back and into his legs, making them threaten to go weak and give out under him. He fought to keep upright, leaning forward, then he was stumbling back into the hallway. As he regained his balance, he looked back over at Christian. The smaller man was raising his rifle. "Clear!" Christian said into his radio. Shit, Westdale said. And with that, I think we'll call it there, because that is a lot of reading. And yeah, I don't do this often. I hope you enjoyed it. That was a small part of Caught in the Web. Tune in and maybe we'll do this again. I have other short stories I'd like to read to you. From the Man Cave, this has been The Writing Hermit, Jason Davis.